convention are still with the company today. And that says a lot to me. And I told Amy, I said, we have to get people back to the land. We have to get people, you know, and I've got that land, you know. So let's bring people here and let's them have that belief in themselves and each other in this community, you know, and the company too. Because now when somebody calls you and says, hey, did you hear about this new company? It's, you know, and you're like, yeah, that's really awesome, you know. Good luck to them, but I have a family, not a company.
Thank
So if I invite you into my home, you know, and that brings us a little bit closer, you know. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to have done that.
We appreciate you going and getting us toilet paper today. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's how much of a family we are. You just
Yes,
do the
indeed.
thing. Thank you.
There's certain, it's funny, you know, I always ask people, I'm like, so how long do you wait when you run out of toilet paper to get it? Okay, what about toothpaste? Soap? Dish soap?
Wait until it's gone.
We don't
Right?
run out.
All that stuff, right? So we all worry about keeping all this outside stuff clean.
Right.
But is any of that cleanliness, that outside stuff, your hair, or even your teeth, I guess, is probably the most important. You know, but that's inside, if you think about it. Close your mouth.
Absolutely.
So it's the internal cleaning that's far more important. So when people say, how long should I use Purium? I said, how long have you been wiping your behind? Because as long as you're doing that, you should probably be cleaning your insides, you know? So as long as you're brushing your teeth, you should probably be brushing your intestines. As long as you're showering your skin, you should probably be showering your internal body as well. And so once people learned to brush their teeth 180 years ago, they didn't stop. They didn't. They realized it was the right thing to do. And so I believe that once people realize that brushing the inside of your body is the right thing to do, that they're never going to stop. You know what I mean? Because once you've brushed your teeth, it sort of feels weird not to. And once you've cleansed the inside of your body and then you stop, it really feels weird, to be honest with you. So one thing I used to love to do is bring people up here and put them through 6 or 7 days of eating this food, sometimes just 3 or 4. And I'd say, you know what, you guys have done good. What do you want? In-N-Out? You want a thick steak? You tell me, you name it, you got it. And they'd tell me, I'd go get pizzas and McDonald's, and I'd bring it back, and they'd start eating it, and they go, ugh. I go, what's wrong? This doesn't taste the same. I said, no, it always tasted like that. It did. What changed is you stopped smelling like that. So when the stuff that tasted like that got into the person who smelled like that, they didn't notice, but I got you not smelling like that anymore, and now you can't taste that stuff the same way you used to. Because we brushed the inside of your body. Right? So I just believe that we are on the tip of a revolution, an evolution, which is better because revolutions tend to be violent and temporary, whereas evolutions are really, really fast. So I think we're on the tip of this evolution. And I remember when I was a child, I read this book, I think it was called Somewhere in Time or something, where they had this machine that you could like get a pill out of it, and it had all the nutrition of a turkey dinner. And you could have another pill and all the nutrition of a salad. And another pill and all the nutrition of a bowl of fruit. And I read that as a kid, I was 7, 8 years old, and I thought, wow, that wrinkle in time happened. And here we are. And now we know that this massive stuff that we eat has very few nutrients. So does anybody know about the calorie antioxidant ratio? Okay, this is what has everything to do with longevity and health. You take every food that you eat and you say, what's its value? And you put all those values, nutrients, fiber, whatever, enzymes, protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, whatever the potential benefit might be. And then you put on the other side all the things in it that may not be good for you. Hydrogenated oils, artificial flavorings, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, excess sugar, processed grains, maltodextrin, and glyphosate, So on that calorie antioxidant ratio, you measure a food by how many calories it has, and then how many antioxidants it has, and have excessive calories and just a few nutrients, right? Then that's not a good food. But imagine if you're not just measuring calories, but anything that might not be good in that food, and you're just making what are those charts? You put the good stuff on one side, the bad side on the other, and if there's anything bad on one side, we don't eat that. That's our standard. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you look at this, these decisions that we make and the way that people are choosing food, most of the food that we choose is high in calories and has a long list of things that ultimately can dramatically deplete your health. And then there's a few other things in there that would be in a food that, we would eat. But what's all that other stuff? And we have to start looking and saying it's not a food if it has that other stuff in it. And we also have to realize the accumulative effect of that other stuff. Okay? So my friend Charlotte, when I was living in Norway, she said, Dave, we're having lunch together. She says, Dave, don't judge me, but I have a Diet Dr. Pepper, but just one a day, and I eat really healthy the rest of the time. I said, well, that's cool. I said, how old are you again? She said, 32. I said, all right, how long have you been doing that? Since high school. I said, okay, well, let's add up the days. It's 14 years times 365, right? So that's 4,856 or whatever it is, So we got about 5,000 Diet Dr. Peppers, right? It's like, I really never thought about it like that. I said, well, now think about it like this. What am I drinking right now? She has pineapple and cranberry. I said, what do I always order when I order a drink? She goes, some type of funky juice, whatever they have, I said, yeah, because if I'm going to make a choice to put something in my body every day, after 10,000 days, I know there's going to be 10,000 imprints on my body. What are they going to look like? Do I want 10,000 Diet Dr. Pepper imprints on my body, even if it's just one a day? Probably not. So I try to think of everything not as one-off, but part of a pattern, right? Because somebody once told me, they said, you got to be careful of your thoughts because your thoughts become your actions. You got to be careful of your actions because your actions become your habits. You got to be careful of your habits because your habits become your destiny. Right? They become and define who you are and where your life will end. So let's be really careful about those things that we do on a regular basis. Because they are habitual. Means they'll be repeated. And if they're repeated, they're going to accumulate the impact. Now, what if those are good things? What if those are positive things? What if you're building on, you know what I mean? Pineapple juice and cranberry instead of Diet Dr. Pepper, and you've made 4 decisions like that a day over those same 10 years, and all of a sudden you're looking at like 20,000 positive imprints on your body. Doesn't that sound cool? Yeah. Now, if you're taking Purium, the way that most of us do, how many Purium imprints do you make on your body a day, do you think? 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yes.
More than 2?
More than 2, and I just hit my 1,000th day about 9 days ago.
So you've got 2,000 to 5,000 imprints on your body.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a programmer, you know what that means. If you're into regenerative farming, can't we be into regenerative living? Mm-hmm. Dave, do you do regenerative farming? Oh, do you do regenerative living? Wait. Well, I want you to do it, but I just want to keep living this way. Okay? So I have a lot of people ask me about the standards I keep all the time. And I got answers. And I never turn around and ask them about the standards they keep because I don't need to know. I don't. But I need you to know that you're in charge of a regenerative system. And it starts right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if we're into scrubbing our body every day with harsh soaps because we've been taught by the commercials that we need to use Dial in our shower every night, stop. That's a good microbiome, that smell. Okay? Wash all your essential parts really good, gently on the other parts, and let that microbiome stay at least a couple of days before you go scrubbing it off. Because that's a big part of your immune system. Right? But socially, we're not just supposed to smell like humans. We're supposed to smell like a department store. We're supposed to smell like perfume. We're supposed to smell like a fragrance. I like the fragrance of you guys. I don't mind. You know, I don't. Because that's you being human. And guess what? If you're eating right, your fragrance is actually really nice. I love walking up to my friends who eat right and just, you know, because their bodies smell good. They do. And so, you know, you are what you eat. You are. And, you know, I could tell you that each and every one of you are the product of the decisions you've made in your lifetime. Each and every one of you could look back and say, yep, I remember when I made that decision, I turned left. Probably should have turned right. But I'll tell you this, you're right where you're supposed to be. So, any questions for me tonight? So start right here.
I have a brand partner customer who's really into herbal things, and she was wondering if there's a reason that you don't use ashwagandha or milk thistle in any of your products?
Actually, only because those take you a certain place, and I've already got other things that take you there. So it's like, why do you own a motorcycle instead of a bike, or you know what I mean? They're both vehicles that take you, and I really like ashwagandha. Nothing wrong with it, but I personally find that the other combinations I use are more effective for what I'm trying to accomplish. And milk thistle has been used in some of our products in the past, just nothing currently. Yeah. And we're not really, so the thing is that milk thistle is a little too harsh of a detox for me. We detox our liver every single time we take a period product. Our liver needs to not be inflamed, right? And so all of our cherry and all the green drinks, those are acting directly on the liver to reduce inflammation. The super aminos, that's a protein, doesn't even go through your liver, right? So that reduces the, so taking care of your liver isn't taking milk thistle. I learned that like 20 years ago. So there's time I made products with milk thistle. I never will again. Okay?
Awesome.
Next. Just remember that I learned that detox isn't a hammer, it's a feather. Okay? So I was in China, quick story, I'm sorry. I was in China working with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, remember, doing the whole organic thing. And I'm out observing fields, but I'm a spy, remember? So I'm up in my, up in my spot, a 4-story building with my glasses. I'm checking out the farmers, seeing what they're doing. Well, there's an old farmer, he's probably my age, probably 60, but he's like 140. And he's got, the grass hat on, and he's, sitting there. He's teaching the young boy how to take the oxen through the rice paddy. So the oxen's yoked up, and the boy's behind the oxen. It's got the big thing on it to plow the field. And the boy's like, couldn't get that oxen to move. So he's trying everything. He's doing this, and then took a stick, and he sort of like tapped it like that, and he wouldn't move, and then he went up and tried to push it, and I could see the grandfather just shaking his head. And then the boy went over, he picked up a rock. He's like, I'm just going to throw it at that oxen's butt and get it moving. And as he went to throw the rock, the grandpa just held his hand. He said, watch this. And he pulled a long, piece of, whatever it might have been, hay or whatever. And he went behind the oxen, right, where, and went, tickle, tickle, tickle. And the oxen went, started moving. So it's not the perfect story, but I'm telling you, sometimes just a little bit of coercion is better than throwing a rock at, and a big stick at a problem. And a lot of people, they're so used to Western medicine that they're looking for cause and effect with everything. I do this, then that happens, because that's what we're used to. But you have to understand that if everybody here stood back and I asked one of them to pick up this table, right? Even the strongest person would have trouble doing it because it's hard to grab that table. But if each one of them took one finger and went like this, they could lift up that table. Well, which one of them's lifting it? Who knows? In holistic medicine, we never know what had the effect, really, because it's everything we do. And that's why it always fails in clinical trials. Because in clinical trials, they say, give them one thing and a lot of it and see what happens. Well, it's not the way holistic medicine works, so they can't prove what we do is right. They can only prove it's wrong, and they've been trying to do it ever since, but we keep getting healed. You know what I mean? So, okay, sorry, digress. Next.
Thank you. No, that was great.
No, that was super helpful for me. I have a question about the orange juice, or not, yes, thank you.
Carrot
Carrot
juice?
And the other ingredient that's in it.
That's the rice bran solubles. That's the magic.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So rice bran solubles is the fat taken from the bran of rice. And it is a hormone balancing miracle. Most people suffer from hormone stress. This relieves hormonal
cortisol,
stress,
maybe?
like cortisol. Exactly. It allows your body to unleash a hormone called adiponectin, which is why we call rice bran solubles the skinny gene, because it's the one that triggers your adiponectin to eliminate excess fat in your body. It's in the power shake, and it's also in the carrot. But the purest form is in the carrot. That's why it's so silky, like crazy delicious.
Okay, so I have one more question about, this is in the.
Wait, I wrote it down.
No, it's
No.
on the label.
It's on the label. Well, I wrote it down.
Okay, okay, brown rice extract.
So brown rice syrup solids are one of my favorite sweeteners.
Okay,
So I don't have to use anything that isn't really healthy for you. So brown rice syrup solids are like a little secret I learned a long time ago, and I can't believe you made me tell the world. But yeah, it's really
But that
awesome way
extract
to
is the
enhance.
same?
So certain fruits have sugar in them, but when you dry them, those sugars change to carbohydrates. They're not sweet anymore. So the brown rice syrup solids gives it that fruity
What is
enhancement.
the brown rice extract the same?
It's a
as
brown rice, brown rice that's been fermented. Yeah.
Kinda like
Sort of like brown rice molasses. Is that a good way to explain it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes, you.
Are you looking at?
Are you looking at me?
About the brown rice solubles, or
Rice bran
rice bran
solubles.
solubles. It's not in the grain-free pack because it's technically a grain, right? Or is it not technically? Is it?
So rice is a grain,
Yeah.
and that is not in the grain-free pack.
Right. So it's labeled because it's not the rice, right?
It's not the rice.
Okay, but it's
It's
still-
the bran, and it's not even the bran. It's the oil from the bran.
But we can't label it as grain-free because
You can't because it had a source, and I know it's crazy.
Okay. Thank you.
But the thing is, though, we have to tell 100% of the truth, be impeccable with our word, and let people make their own decisions. Right? I'm not going to make a marketing decision and say, don't say that because someone might misunderstand. No, say it and explain. That's my motto in the back.
Are the rice bran solubles currently in the Power Shake right now?
So during COVID, all of our, I know this would be way too much for you guys to take in. During COVID, everybody tried to stock up on food, and all of the rice in the world got sucked up. And during that time, our purpose for having the rice bran in there was to have that amount of fat that we were needed. Well, in order to have enough rice bran to make our powder, we had to use a rice bran solubles that was less soluble. So we don't call it rice bran solubles anymore because it's not 100% soluble. So it's the same product, but it's one stage less refined, so it's not soluble, but it's still the same product. That-
And is it still coming from Thailand?
It's still coming from Thailand. Yes.
Can you tell that story of the farms in Thailand?
Yeah. So I got a call from one of my contacts who said that Monsanto was trying to get 100 farmers in Thailand to sign a contract to grow GMO rice, and they didn't want to do it. And so the government asked them to set up a co-op and look for somebody to buy their rice, or else they had to make this deal with Monsanto. So the Organic Association contacted me and said, would you sponsor this co-op and guarantee them to buy their rice? And I said, yeah. So we did. And so we set up this consortium of 100 rice growers, and we guarantee them fair trade pricing, guarantee them, export assistance, guarantee them year round. So they, they harvest it one time of the year, and then they either have to sell it or they're sort of screwed. So they usually will sell it. So Monsanto's like, well, we'll tell you what, you use our chemicals and everything, and we'll guarantee you can sell it. So we made them the same guarantee that they'd be able to sell it as long as they grew it. And that's why, I don't know if you guys know, but I've been a rebel my whole life, but I decided to stop trying to destroy the system, and instead I decided to become the system.
Thank
And that
you.
way it would be made the way that we want it to be made.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, love that. Is rice bran solubles contraindicated for people trying to gain weight? Is there a better product?
Are you trying to gain weight by being fat or muscle?
I guess just weight
Muscle weighs
regulation.
more than fat.
I put rice bran solubles in my juice bar in a bag
if
every
you,
day,
if you
and
have
I don't.
excess body fat,
Yeah,
then you
I
probably
don't.
want to reduce it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you probably don't. And that's pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you do, take the rice bran solubles.
Okay.
All right. And you got to remember that all adiponectin does is it lets your body use excess fat as energy. So it doesn't make you super skinny. It lets you use excess fat as energy. So that's actually a really good thing.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. You gonna go back there? Right there.
Yeah.
And then great.
What's your so you said you have combinations to replace ashwagandha, or that you use instead of ashwagandha that you like? Is that
What do you want from ashwagandha? Tell me what you want to accomplish.
Well, I'm curious what her client.
And again, I'm asking you, why are you taking
Right.
ashwagandha?
I'm guessing nervous system health and anxiety.
So why wouldn't white American ginseng be a far greater choice since it's adaptogenic and ashwagandha is not?
Right. So white American ginseng. Or
Next.
Bio-
Next,
Yeah,
why do you
okay.
use ashwagandha? Yes.
Okay. What do you recommend for helping people?
I want to see you while you talk, so.
Yeah. Helping people after COVID with after symptoms like hair loss, just taste. Just people who had COVID, got over it, it was fine, but now the body's still kind of doing weird things. Do you
Long
have
haulers.
a protocol that you recommend, or particular products or combination of products that would help support the body through that, to really make sure to recover, I suppose?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, as I was explaining, has anybody taken any of my online courses? Okay, well, I have an online university called the David Sandoval Academy of Learning, and you can actually get accredited and become a Purium professor and learn 4 different things. And what you'll learn in my detox course is that the body has 12 different avenues of detoxification, and that our goal is to simply enhance and open up those pathways. And you don't push it like milk thistle; you pull it. You know what I mean, by creating vacuums that have to be filled. And that's what we do every day with our ULT. But specifically, what I would say, and if people were vaccinated with a certain type of vaccine, is to look at heavy metal detox. Look at chlorella to help cell regulation and division and things like that, just to be protective of the body. But I don't know exactly. I had COVID 3 times myself. Technically, I got tested for it and was positive, and I never had very many symptoms. So from personal experience, I can't really tell you. And I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't offer medical advice. So my advice is the advice I'm going to give you from Ann Wigmore, who said if you want to be an amazing healer, nourish and detoxify. And when you nourish and detoxify the body and then are patient, it will figure it out. May not figure it out in a day or even a week. It may take 90 days or more. But if you simply nourish and detoxify, your body will figure it out. And I know that that's not the, cause and effect answer that everybody wants, that medical Western medicine answer. But the truth of the matter is that, we've seen people who reported every single thing that is a medical condition have come to me and say, after nourishing and detoxifying, I was able to recover from that, regardless of what it was, with very few exceptions. So I don't have specific advice other than specifically nourish and detoxify. Yes.
I was curious about the cream, the non-dairy cream flavor in the berry shake. Do you have any specifics as far as like what that is?
So every single one of our ingredients that's a flavoring or has an explanation that's exactly the same. It's plant-based, vegan, organic. It's no nuts and no soy. If it's any of the allergens, it will be listed. If it contains any allergen, it has to be listed by law. So if it's not listed, it's not there. And you guys want to learn how it happens, though? It's pretty magic.
Yeah.
So they take barks, oils, plant parts, like literally parts of leaves, and they boil them, roast them, put them in centrifuges, all this stuff, and then they see what they taste like. And so the raspberry actually has no raspberry in it. It has lemon, it has strawberry, it has like, I think, mint, things you would never imagine that come together and taste like raspberry, because if you dry raspberry, it does not taste like raspberry. But you can make other combinations of plants taste like raspberry for some reason. And there's magnificent people who work, like the chefs in the kitchen, who sit all day just roasting and boiling and fragmenting plant parts and putting them together so that our food could taste better and not have to use the chemicals. And to me, it's really amazing. And we have 3 different labs we use. And we never were satisfied. So we started using this Latina girl who worked in our office, and she goes, I am so good in the kitchen. Let me add those flavors. And all these magnificent flavors did not come from these fancy labs. They actually came from Anna. But the fancy labs do give us the different things to start with. You know what I mean? But I guarantee you that they meet those standards. If there's an allergen in them, it must be listed, right? That they're organic and they're vegan. And they're just really magnificently, like, the alchemy behind them is really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there was somebody over here, I forgot you, so be pushy and push up your hand again for me.
My mom just did about 4 months of chemotherapy and got her left breast removed a couple days ago. She can't.
What's her
swallow-
name?
Mariana.
Mariana, everybody, could we raise Mariana up right now and just like a 5-second silence? And
She can't swallow any pills, and she says the power shake is too heavy for her. Any advice?
yeah, try the Spectrum Greens, unflavored or flavored. And again, the unflavored with the carrot is magnificent. Did anybody try that? Mix the carrot with the unflavored Spectrum Greens. It's amazing and really easy to get down. It's smooth and silky. And it'll give her just, like you said, if she has any fat, it'll help it start burning for energy to feed her cells. But it's really good combination for her. Okay? And then, of course, we'll keep her in our prayers. Okay, that's right.
My question was about the flavorings as well. So, on the label, it has to say natural flavors.
And again, we can't argue with the law.
So that's what it. Okay, because sometimes that's not.
It also says organic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says
So-
organic natural flavor. Okay, because I don't remember. I thought it said natural pineapple flavor, but I.
Regardless, as I
Yeah.
said, all of our flavorings are organic, and it
Yeah.
says so on the label. Yeah.
Okay, and that's good.
So,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna go boom, boom, boom. You first.
For Birocher, why are aspergillus enzymes in the product? Myself, I got really sick from mold, and then I have a lot of clients that ask that same question. They see aspergillus enzymes.
Because they don't know it. Because they don't know what they're
What
talking
they're
about.
saying, right? Or talking about. But could you explain like what that
Well,
is and why?
yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
She asked about the enzymes, our vegan enzymes. So little story about our enzymes. They're award-winning, and they are patented, and they're amazing. Has anybody ever heard of a microbrewery?
Yeah.
Of course. Well, see, beer usually takes 2 years to ferment. But with certain enzymes, you could get that beer to ferment in as little as 90 days. And the scientist who created the series of enzymatic reactions that caused beer to ferment so quickly was actually more interested in helping intestinal illnesses get healed. And so he realized that almost all the enzymes that people were taking were being destroyed in their gut as soon as they hit the acid of the upper chamber. All those enzymes, because they're proteins, were immediately digested and dissolved. But he found that these, now I think, now you have to understand that Aspergillus is not the same as Aspergillus. They're just spelled really similarly, and people who don't have enough education don't know the difference. Okay? So that's probably the problem. But so these are enzymes derived from plants, specifically from Aspergillus, and they are amazing. And the reason they're amazing is because they change in the pH of your body. They're not affected, and they're triggered to actually activate as they move down through your intestines. So some trigger in the upper chamber, the middle chamber, the lower chamber, again in your colon, and no other enzyme combination is able to do that. They just pretend on the label that there's something, then they're all destroyed in your gut. So our enzymes are amazing. Just mix them into some, anything and watch it dissolve, whether it be oatmeal or whatever. But I think they're just, check out the spelling of the word.
Okay.
And Aspergillus and Aspergillus are not the same.
Okay.
Okay? I was confused as hell the first time I saw them. So don't be they're not the only ones. I'm like, what are you talking about? Your enzymes are Aspergillus. So yeah, it's an easy mistake to make. And there was somebody in the middle here.
How do you feel about your new amazing dark berry shake for kids?
Same way I feel about kids. I love it. And then you.
Two questions really quick. Can you explain how Viasure works? I don't quite understand the ingredients in it, and how to explain to people how it works with viruses.
Viasure.
Yes, please.
Well, Viasure is really simple. There are, you can't use the term antiviral. It's not allowed by law. So they're just herbs that I have found that different herbs support the body in different ways. And just like I was saying, that table thing, So in order to, I would call it a wide spectrum viral defense. And all you have to do is Google each of the ingredients. I think you'll be rather impressed.
Okay.
But it's the amount of each one and what I didn't put in, because people are like, why didn't you put X or Y or Z? And I'm like, you don't understand. That's like putting too much salt in the soup. Salt's good, but it could also ruin the soup. And so the thing about immune modulation versus immune stimulation is not really understood. So what you have to understand is these T lymphocytes and erythrocytes and cytokines and all of these amazing defenders of our body, these white blood cell components, well, they are all inflammatory. You ever sprain your ankle? Boom! It swells up. Why? Because your body's worried that if you got poisoned, the poison's going to quickly go to your heart or your brain, so it better stop the blood from flowing. So your immune system is inflammatory in its very nature. So all these people that said, we're going to stimulate your immune system, I'm just like, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. You don't want to stimulate the immune system or your body be under a constant state of inflammation. Now, C-reactive protein is the measure of, of how much inflammation is going to be happening in your body. C-active protein is a biomarker. It means it sort of will attach a trigger, if you would, a switch onto all of the cells that are about to be inflamed. And the more C-reactive protein that can be identified around your body, the more inflammation is ultimately going to happen within your body. Now, imagine if after 6 weeks you could reduce C-reactive protein by 75%. Because that's what we did with Biomedic. Okay? So when I went to create immune products, I had to make sure I wasn't stimulating the immune system. So all of the herbs in there gently modulate our immune system, but not all viruses are the same. You know what I mean? So we had to put out sort of a wide net to help the body in a waiting position, right? Like a linebacker, a third baseman, or an operator waiting for the phone to ring. In a waiting position so they're going to react. And that's the secret to VirusSure, is it puts your body in a ready position without stimulating it. Okay, and that's why that's something, and by ready, I mean ready to start moving to do something. So VirusSure is one of those products I say you don't take as a preventative. That's Immunomax. VirusSure is the thing you take once you think, oh, I think I got something. It's the only product really like that we have. Okay? And then don't forget our Immune Shield for kids is also great for adults, but that's the preventative one. That's the one you put in before they go to camp or before they go to their first day at school or those type of things, before they get on a plane or like that. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. And then who did I say we go next back there? Yeah.
Hey Dave, so I'm a little bit confused about the
Oh, wait, I got to talk about red marine algae. Can we go back to yours
go
real
ahead.
quick?
Yeah.
So can I tell another story?
Yep.
See, I forget half of the stuff I've done, and I'm not joking. So I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal. The back pages was the things I was almost always interested in, finding out what companies were doing what. And I see that this company was being forced out of business because Pfizer canceled their contract. It might not have been Pfizer, it might have been one of the other big pharmaceutical companies, I can't remember, canceled their contract with them, and now this company was going out of business, and they were a hot commodity about to go public, and all of a sudden they were kaput. And the reason why is because the FDA had denied their patent on their antiviral drug. And their antiviral drug was based on this super rare red marine algae, one called Gigartina and one called Dumontaceae. And those rare red marine algae only grew in the coldest water in the straits off of Scotland, right? And so these algae had something called sulfated polysaccharides. And imagine sulfur, that's like at the hot springs or what you see in broccoli, those sulfur compounds like MSM, methyl sulfur. Well, those compounds had somehow married with polysaccharides in nature. Never been seen before. And these sulfated polysaccharides had the ability to just create massive beneficial effects for people who had Shigella, which is the mother of a lot of the things like, that you know about, right? Shingles and the flu and all these other things, right? But the reason why is because the USDA said that the algae itself worked far better if someone just took the algae than any drug they were able to make from it. And if they couldn't somehow make it better, they couldn't get a patent. And so they denied the patent. So I'm like, well, I want to call this company in Ireland and see if I could learn about this algae. So I'm calling them for weeks. And no answer. Finally, I'm like, it's my last. I'm staying up all night because of the time difference, right? Remember, I don't sleep. So I'm staying up at night, and I'm calling. Finally, the phone answers. Thickest Scottish accent I ever heard, And I just could barely understand. We're closed. We're closed, And I'm like, no, you're not closed. Listen to me. And finally, he goes, I'll have the owner call you. So phone rings an hour later. And he says, what's your story? I said, I want to buy all the algae you have. He says, why? I said, because I'm going to sell it as a natural source, not as a medicine. Yeah. And he goes, oh, really? He says, are you willing to buy it? I said, well, how much do you have? He goes, 36 kilos. 36 kilos, big deal. I said, sure, I'll take all of it. He goes, okay, I'll send you an invoice. $420,000. I don't have $420,000. So I worked out a deal with them, bought all of it, and then I introduced it to the U.S. market. And we've been selling the red marine algae ever since. And if you just look up the studies on red marine algae, specifically Diamantaceae and Gigartina, and just see the effects for people, the benefits for people who have cold sores and herpes and, you know, shingles. It's miraculous.
Is that super xanthan?
No. But,
Virusure.
but listen to it. Yeah, super astaxanthin is a red marine algae though. So kudos to her.
Yeah, Laura. Good job, Gooch.
So yeah, so that color red in our cherries, remember, and the dark berry, those deep dark colors are really important. Yeah, so the red marine algae is probably the key to Virusure in that product, but there's other amazing complementary ingredients as well. So, okay. Next question was back there. No, that was you. That was you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey Dave, thanks. Could you talk a little bit more about our soils being in the top 1% and just kind of break that down a little bit? Are there other farms included in that?
Of course. Yeah.
Could you
So,
explain that a
so
little
this
more?
is pretty easy math. Less than 1% of all farmland in the United States is certified organic. So that's where that statistic comes from. Now, fewer than 1 in 100 foods, it's more like 1 in 300 edible plants are considered a superfood, right? So if you compound, if someone knows how to do, you know, that mathematics, that's like 1 in 3,000, you know what I mean? So we're far rarer than 1% of the food that in the quality that's available on Earth, far greater than the top 1%.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Back left, and then we'll come. Yeah.
Could you tell us which products you would say are unsafe for pregnancy and why?
You know, I'm not. We've already got a list of which ones are, and those are the ones you take. Okay. Yeah.
Is there an alternative, gluten-free alternative for celiac people for the Revive It All? Or is there something?
You know, really, yes, that would be the dark berry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great news. Thank you.
It has the ginkgo and has some of those other ingredients, but it won't do the same. Because remember, that's a clinical study that proved that those combination of ingredients did what they did, and we can't go, oh, can we substitute that because it's convenient for us because we want to, you know what I mean?
What is the amount of, like, is it the, like, 2 strands of rice pasta kind of comparison in the Revive It All?
It's for each individual to make, but you can extrapolate that it can't be much.
Yeah, right. I know that.
Yeah.
So the benefits of it wouldn't outweigh the...
That's up for each individual
person.
to make
Okay.
for themselves.
Got it.
Okay. So there's an old thing that says the tail can't wag the dog. And so 1% of people are celiac, okay? Less than 1%. And so it's really important. It's awesome that we could say that we have gluten-free products. But that's not going to be the difference changer for 99.5% of people. So stop making that your cause, people. Okay? Just stop. The celiac people have been living the life they live, and they know they have a restricted diet. They know that there's limited things they could eat. Stop telling them they could have everything. They can't. They could have what they could have, and they already know it. Okay?
I'm a celiac, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And what we have is very clearly marked, so you
Yeah.
can make those educated decisions.
Absolutely.
But we can't just say we have to make everything gluten-free for that half of 1% of people when there's so many benefits to the rest of us who are not. You understand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking for the alternative.
And I
Thank
understand, and I love that, and we go really bend over backwards. But again, we have to do what's right for everybody, and then everybody has a place that they could get what we have, something good at Purium. It just can't be every single product.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yes.
This may have been a rumor, but I heard that potentially
I might have started it.
you may be moving to a grain-free power shake.
We have grain-free products. If you look at the many products that are grain-free.
Yeah, but
But here's the reason why we're not going to have a grain-free power shake.
Okay.
Because I go to the science. And the science says that the beta-glucans in oats, there's nothing like them on the planet. Okay, they turn into what's called a gummy beta-glucan. that adheres itself to your intestines and will trap nutrients and feed them into your system very slowly. Everybody in America is diabetic at some level, and they need that super slow burning carbohydrate, gummy carbohydrate, and because everybody's on this grain-free kick, they're not getting it. Okay? You got to remember, grains were the first food eaten in Asia. Grains were the first food cultivated in Europe. Grains are not the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is. The way we handle grains. So everybody pay close attention. If you see those big silos and farms, you know what's inside of them? Grain. You see all these holes with mice everywhere? Rats everywhere. We're in nature. You think there's no rats and mice in Kansas?
I live there.
There's never been a silo that isn't infected with mice and rats, which means rice and rat poop are in every piece of grain you've ever eaten. Period.
Mold.
Okay? That's the reality. If you eat peanut butter, you're allowed 3.5 bug parts per teaspoon. Wings, legs, whatever, per teaspoon.
That's the mold.
Okay? It's the mold, what's called an aflatoxin. Thank you. What happens is now those silos aren't sealed. So when it rains, a little bit of moisture gets in. That moisture mixes with the rat poop and creates a
Aflatoxin.
aflatoxin, which is a type of mold that grows through the grain. And then they grind it all up together into flour. And you know why you're not supposed to eat cookie dough before it's cooked?
Because you're eating poo.
Because you're eating aflatoxin. So what did Ann Wigmore teach me? If you have to eat grain, toast it. If you have to eat bread, toast it. I never eat bread that's not toasted. Ever. I don't care if it's freshly made. Because bread, even when it's cooked, has a lot of moisture in it still. Bread doesn't burn. You know what I mean? It fluffs up. Not hot enough to kill that aflatoxin. Okay? But it does get pushed back a lot. So if you eat that bread in the first day or two, you hardly feel it. But you wait till the third day, just smell that bread, you guys. Just smell it. You'll smell that mold, boom, exploding. So the problem isn't the grain. It's the way the grain is brought to us. Okay? So we use all small batch farmers. We don't do those big commercial farmers because they don't take care of their stuff. And we test everything that comes in. That's why we have a micro lab. That's why we have a chemistry lab. And we send out, as last year we rejected more oats than we kept.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
That's so sweet of you.
Seriously, I'm just like, thank you.
So, well, thank you all, and appreciate you.
Thanks.
I hope that this was, enlightening on some level to you. And remember that, our goal is to honor everybody who's on a nutritional pathway and to go out and find, that 85, 90, 95% of people who aren't worried, no offense, about whether it's gluten-free or even organic, they're just suffering. They're just suffering and they don't even know why. They might be celiac. You know what I mean? They don't even know it. So let's go and find people and ask them, hey, are you ready? If you're ready for this awesome thing that we refer to as transformation, I'd love to guide you there. And if you're not ready, it's so okay. Would you mind following me on my social thing and let me know what you think about what I'm doing? Because I need to know what y'all think. So even if you're not ready for what I have to offer, would you just follow me and, just comment once in a while so I know, that we're still friends, even though you're not totally into my Purium business. That's what I'm doing right now. So as my friend, would you just still check out some of my posts anyway? And if you bring people along on your journey, I know, did anybody say that already to you 1,000 times? I'm sure. If you just bring people along on your journey, everybody's curious. Everybody wants to peek through your window and see what you're making for dinner. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So don't make it about, hey, everybody, look what I know. Hey, everybody, look what I'm doing. Do you do this too? Tell me what do you do when you take your kids out? You know, like ask them questions, get interactive, and create that engagement and that that curiosity without judgment is so important. You know, just be curious without judgment. Ask people what they're doing, and then say, hey, did you hear about what I'm doing? Because it's really changed my life. If not right for you, is your sister still doing okay? I remember you were telling me, that she was struggling a couple of years back. Is she still doing okay? Oh yeah, I'm glad you thought about her. I bet she could use that stuff. I may not be ready for it, but I think my sister could be. So just keep listening, keep caring, and never ever take it personally when someone isn't ready. Could we make that contract? Never take it personally when someone isn't ready. You weren't ready the first time, were you? No. And aren't you glad someone didn't take it personally? I was. So again, thank you all. Appreciate you. And
Dave, my son Faya has a question for you.
yes, sir.
You gonna ask him?
Maybe Mom could ask for you.
He's asking why the power shake is so good for him.
The reason why is because God said, I've given you all of the seed-bearing fruits and all of the greens of the fields, and I bring these to you to be your sustenance. That means that which will sustain you and make you strong. So the reason is because great Creator in Genesis, the very first page of the Bible, told us that was a gift for us. And I learned that no matter what you believe, who your great Creator is, that's true for everybody. No matter how you worship or who you worship, we all really have that same gift from God that says that fruits and vegetables are going to nourish our bodies and make us strong. And then what happened is some people thought if they added chemicals to them, they could make it even better, but they were wrong. So now we got to tell everybody, oh my God, that food's got chemical monsters in it. We can't eat those chemical monsters. So we got to look for the good food that doesn't have any chemical monsters. And that's what your mama does for you. Because your mama's job is to keep you safe. Okay? Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.